Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program. This is Let's Talk, and I'm really keen on getting our interviews on the road this morning. We'll be looking at foster care, what's involved if you want to become a foster parent. We'll also be talking to a doctor from abroad. He's here to tell us all about cleft lips and cleft palates. But right now we're going to be talking about Hollywood, Bollywood, the New York Film Academy, and of course we're talking Tinseltown, lights, camera, action, and with two wonderful women in studio. The one is an aspiring model and actress, and the other one is an agent. Kaylali Rabi and Elsubie Verlinden, the director of 33andMe Talent Agency, is here to talk to us about how this industry works, just how difficult it is. But at the end of the day, if you are passionate enough, you will be able to follow your dreams. Morning, ladies. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Lovely to have such gorgeous ladies in studio this morning with me. And of course, we're talking about the glamorous world, or I don't know, glamorous, but the hard-working world of modeling, acting, and all other arts. So let's start with you, Elsubie. You've been in this business for quite a while. You yourself has been exposed to acting and modeling. Let's start talking about your career and what's propelled you in this direction to start putting a hand up to other young, aspiring, talented people.
Well, I think that's a very deep question for me because since the age of 5, I had a love for performing arts. I trained as a model. I wanted to be a fashion model. Moved from East London to Johannesburg. Was rejected by every single fashion agency because I was too short.
Ooh.
And that for me is something that is one of the objectives that I took into consideration when I became an agent, was to educate and just be able to give artists and models the right direction and information of what it takes to be a working model or actress in the industry. So that was one of my motives and objectives in terms of starting the agency. After not being able to become a tall, skinny, pretty model, I decided to do a little bit of business management, did it for 1 year. My family believed that I'm going to change direction and give up my dream of being a model and an artist to have a real career. Because the industry in South Africa is known to have the performing arts as just a dream. You know, it's like always struggling artists.
It's a very small industry in South Africa. We're really tiny as compared to the rest of the world.
And that's why it's very important for artists as well. And I learned that when moving from business management, learning how important your brand is, knowing that it's your business, it was really important for me to understand that I wanted to be in the industry. And that's when I started studying at the Actors Centre in Braamfontein. And once I started educating myself, I was able to start working as a commercial model, which at least gave me that like modeling dream. But ultimately, I became an actress, and I worked with Leon Schuster. I played in soapies like Verlinden, Scandal, Igoli. I did 17 local commercials, 21 international commercials, even did a Handy Andy ad as a housewife, doing, what do you call it, aerobics with Handy Andy in my hand, you know.
Okay.
So it really teaches you a lot about yourself. But the biggest lesson that I've learned in the industry is if you don't know what you stand for before you enter the industry, you can get exposed to roles, to jobs that can allow you to question your faith and your value system. And when money is at stake, you can sometimes make the wrong decisions. And I always teach when I work with artists is write down what roles you will play and what you won't do before you enter the industry, because you can get sidetracked so quickly by money and by fame to do roles that is against your character. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned before becoming an agent.
Obviously, you're here to guide young aspiring actresses, artists of any genre,
Yes.
and to point them in the right direction. But in this day and age, or probably even from the beginning of time, people want to be validated. They want to be recognized. They want name, fame, and glory because they then believe they've arrived. And we all want that. But how do you point out the realities that you may be rejected? Never mind, you may have the look, you may be beautiful, you may be tall, you may be gorgeous, but you may just be rejected because a million other people out there
Yes.
with the same dream as you have. And because the South African film industry or the arts industry on the whole is so tiny, just X amount of people can get absorbed.
That's true.
So what's your advice to them? And how do you prepare them to perhaps change career paths?
You know, so I'm very honest when I do auditions. So if I feel from my professional opinion that there's no direction or no opportunity, I will have a sit-down conversation with the artist and sometimes parents as well, and just give them my professional feedback. But I'm one person in a really big world and industry. So if it won't work for my agency and all the clients that I have associated myself with, I will be honest, and I believe honesty is key. I'll rather tell you to move in a different direction than try and make you believe something that won't become a reality. I think the advice that I'd have is exactly what you said. You never arrive in the industry. And that is where most artists fail.
Just explain that.
So the moment I've had models book Fashion Week and you book one job and then now you think you're famous. You don't need anybody no more, you know. And that to me is always so shocking, because the industry should be the opportunity for you to tell stories and change people's lives. And even if it's in the modeling industry, you need to be able to see it as an opportunity to make a difference. And if it's more about you, yourself and your fame, it's going to be short-lived. And that's the advice that I always give to talent, is never ever think that you'll arrive in the industry. Like, success is not a destination, it's a journey. So that is an account for the film and fashion industry as well. It's a growth process, a self-development. You start learning more about yourself, value systems. You need to have really good character. You're going to be exposed to many different people. And you're going to work with different cultures. So it's really important for you to understand your worth and your character. And if your mindset is to be able to tell stories through the performing arts, you're moving in the right direction. There's millions of people, and I always say there's a difference between I want to become and I want to be. And those millions are going to remain wannabes until they actually establish and define what true purpose and character means within themselves before they enter the industry.
Kayla, what's your story? I do know that you're in your matric year, but big things are happening for you right now. How did you meet with Elsubie, and what's your journey been like so far?
Well, my journey has been really amazing, and I'm so grateful. I met Elsubie actually through a friend, and she took me to the agency and I auditioned, and from there the journey has just...
You auditioned for
the
a model?
agency.
No, as a model or an actress?
Both. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then from there, me and Elsubie has really gotten very close, and we've gotten to know each other, and it's just been really amazing journey, and I'm so grateful to have her in my life.
When you looked at her, you know, often talent scouts and agencies like yourself talk about the X factor. What is it about her that jumped out at you, that you felt she's got that something, she's got the X factor? And you can't quite pinpoint it, can you?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the height or the blonde hair or the blue eyes, etc.
For me, it was desire. So during her performance, there was this ultimate desire to break through into the industry, and she was really hungry to learn. So everything that I had to say throughout the workshops, she was the one who was interested in learning. And that is always a unique element for me from individuals, because most models think they're just going to make it through the external. But when I met Kayla, it was more about what can I learn so that I can audition better, that I can be a stronger performer. And that to me was a really big X factor, is the ultimate desire, and what is it that I can do to improve and to learn so that I can be a stronger performer.
Did you always want to be a model and an actress from the time you were little?
No, I actually danced, and then I was dancing for 10 years, and after that I wanted to explore different parts of the industry, and that's when I met Elsubie and started with modeling and acting.
Elsubie, how much of her dancing helped to get to where she is today?
So dancing, I always say modeling, acting, singing and dancing are all skills that needs to be combined. You need to be multi-talented and not just one mind direction. So that's a very important point. The dancing teaches you a lot of flexibility and character. So there's a lot of character and expression that comes through. And to be an actress and a model, you need to be expressive. So you need to be able to, express yourself. And that comes from dancing, because dancing, I mean, if you watch Broadway productions or you just go to theatre, dancers are very expressive, and that's what is so interesting.
And very energetic.
That's it, you know. So that's my thing as well. Is like I did dancing when I was younger, and I did Latin American and ballroom, and I can say that I started my modelling and then did dancing, and the dancing actually helped me to be like more. You go from a narrow mind of just being the model that's going to sell the product to actually being a lot more entertaining. So it brought in that entertainment value and that character where you can express yourself without feeling that you're going to be judged.
Okay, let's go for our first ad break. When we get back, we're going to talk about this amazing journey that you're going to be undertaking in a few days' time and what awaits you, Kayla. We'll be holding fingers crossed, and we do know it's going to be a very, very good outcome. So I'm talking to Kayla and Elsubie. They're talking about a talent agency right here in South Africa. We know that the industry is very tight. We know that there are lots of hungry actors and models walking the streets. But Elsubie will tell us what's the formula to success, so don't go away. I'm talking to Elsubie and Kayla about their upcoming trip to New York, to the New York Film Academy, and what Kayla's life could look like in a few days' time. Hopefully, if all goes well. Well, just before we get there, just tell us how we came to this point with Kayla.
So Kayla auditioned for our agency to be represented for national and international castings. We have our offices based in Sandton, and we work with models, actors, singers, and dancers. We do TV commercials, soapies, films, series, and mainly like TVCs, editorial, and catalogs. That's what we focus on. So our agency gives opportunities to artists in the local industry. You don't just have to go international. So we first kind of help you build a local career and get to work in the local industry, understand the market, as well as how it works on the film and fashion side. And then we actually allow you to audition for the International Arts Talent Showcase. And that's what Kayla did after signing with the agency. She got to perform at Silver Star Casino in front of our international scouts. We even had the independent casting director from Tyler Perry Studios in South Africa last year when Kayla was auditioning, and she then got invited to go to America. And after her invitation being selected to represent South Africa, she in January and March attended a boot camp where we train artists that's going to America in all aspects of the film industry, fashion industry, modeling, acting, singing, dancing training. We educate them on agent and artist interviews. We help them with their portfolios. We shoot their marketing material. So it's quite a hefty process, and Kayla's been in grade 12 and has been doing exceptionally well with her time management to be able to balance her dream as well as school. So that for me was ultimately key, is in order for her to be able to pursue her dream, but also still balance her education. And now in 4 days' time, we're off to New York.
Great. How long are you going to be there?
11 days we're going to New York.
What's going to happen in New York?
So we go to New York on...
And is it just the two of you that are going?
No, there's 62 South African artists.
Wow.
Yes.
All under your belt.
That's correct.
Okay, brilliant.
Models, actors, singers, and dancers trained by us, scouted by us, gone through the whole process through the International Arts Talent Showcase. We're going to New York on Sunday. Monday, we're at the New York Film Academy doing a workshop, acting for film and broadcasting journalism, which I found very exciting. My other passion being filmmaking. So we always incorporate, educating the South African kids with first world education to empower them and to get them inspired to understand what they need to do when they go to castings and have more information and education to succeed. And then after the New York Film Academy on Monday, Tuesday, we're going to Florida. And at Florida, we're going to perform at the Arts Convention. So Kayla and the rest of the South African artists are going to get the chance to audition and train with American, European, and Asian agents, managers, producers, record labels, and casting directors. So wow. It's one big life-changing opportunity that's 4 days away. And Kayla's absolutely ready to take on that opportunity.
Good luck to you both. Over the years, I presume this is an annual exercise on your part, yes. Your agency. How many of the, and it differs from year to year because the talent is different, the look is different, the need is different. But on average, how many people, how many South Africans get taken up once you take them to these academies, you know, when you take them overseas?
So 93% is our lowest success rates of conversions. So even if we take young kids, our youngest artist this year going is 4.
Wow.
And what we had last year is an agent from Canada that saw some amazing South African kids under the age of 15, and we shot a Disney film in South Africa. We also shot a Netflix film in December. So the agents from America will also be able to create opportunities in South Africa for all the talents. So not everyone has to relocate, and especially the kids. I mean, like on-camera self-tapes are the easiest ways to audition. So 93% success rates, 97 being the highest.
Wow.
So 93 to 97% success rates in terms of job placements. So them actually being able to come from the arts, having an international or a local career. Our success rate is varied between 93 to 97%. And ultimately that last 3% that falls out, for me, it's just based on the lack of support from your parents. So parents play a very big role in the child's success. And then just, I mean, it happened to my own son. He went over 6 years ago. He was cute, did the whole modeling thing, singing thing. He got a recording deal. I took him to Atlanta to go and record. Came back and he fell in love with rugby. And the performing arts was no longer his dream.
Just by the way.
So I was like, that's a really expensive exercise. Right. You know, I flew him to Atlanta and coming back, he just wanted to do sports.
So you talk it being an expensive exercise. Let's just understand. Kayla and people like Kayla with these big dreams, would they typically come? She's still at school.
Yes.
So obviously she didn't go to the film and art school. She didn't go to one of the universities to learn about film production, acting, etc. She's still at school. Which is the best avenue to go through to hopefully be successful or enjoy some measure of success? And if they come directly to you, are you also okay with that, or you prefer them coming out of an established organization where they've had some ground training at least?
Ground training is always really important and it's very, very helpful. But sometimes you can be trained by someone who's not an industry professional, and this happens a lot of times. Moms that have daughters that work in the pageant industry would become very competitive, and the next thing the mom becomes a modeling coach. And now you're getting trained by a mom that was never a model herself, but has watched her daughter do modeling and now feel that she's actually capable and able to teach. So you can get trained by the wrong people in the industry sometimes. And it's a lot harder for me and the teachers that I work with to sometimes break the branches once the roots are watered and established. So training is really important, but it's always better for me to find that raw talent that's just got that X factor, that little sunshine and that passion, you know, the determination and fire from within that shines brighter than anything else. And that for me is very attractive and very appealing. And we can help and train an individual that's got really good confidence. And even those individuals that come through the process that come with broken wings, or, you know, come from broken homes or come from very difficult backgrounds, my heart always lies in investing myself in helping those individuals find their feet and their purpose in life.
So if they come to you, someone comes off the street, I mean, one of our photographers just showed you a picture of his daughter. What are the expectations on his part and on your part in terms of, okay, this person hasn't been to art school or anything, this is now raw talent. What can you do for them? Do you, at the academy, take them through some training? How long is the training? And what are the costs involved?
Okay, so firstly, if you want to sign with the agency and get representation, our talent scout and manager, Franco, he will basically send an email through to you, get you and your parents if you're under the age of 18, and sometimes over 18s also bring their parents, which I find is very respectful. So we always get the child and the parents in the room. We speak to them about the industry, give them a good insight. Then what we do is we put them on camera. So we'll send them a TV commercial, or if they're a singer, they can perform a 60-second song. If you're an original writer, you can perform your own track, or you can do a cover. Actors need to do a 60-second monologue or a TV commercial. So you come in for an interview. interviews with Franco. From the interview, you actually then have to do an on-camera performance. If it's a model, they're going to have to sell us a brand on camera. Actors need to do monologues. So it's not just you're going to walk in and you're going to get signed.
So how long does that process take?
It's about
2 or
an
3
hour
hours?
and a half, yes.
An hour and a half.
That's
and
correct.
Obviously it comes at a cost as well. I mean,
No.
because your time is, you're investing your time.
So, I mean, that's how agents work, is they have to interview people.
All
you know?
right.
So that's part of our job.
Okay.
Our job is to sit and like have a look and see, well, some interviews are not as long as other interviews, I must be honest. So if someone comes into the room and you don't like what you see, it doesn't even have to...
You'll end it as soon as possible.
Yes, you know, so it's I like the honesty in the process. So it's like, you know what, your brand, and when I say brand, it means your character, your voice, like your energy,
your brand.
And like how you sell yourself won't work for any of our clients. But we'll always advise them to go and explore other agencies, to go and see if there's other agencies that are interested. And you know what, anyone can be an extra. And, you know, there's extras agencies. So if you want to be on set and learn, you can,
The best way is become an extra.
Like become an extra and get onto set, you know, and see if this is really something that you want to do.
Yeah.
And you asked a question earlier about Katie still being at school and, you know, if you're young, how do you know? That's my thing, is I want to get you onto set. I want you to get through the casting process, because by the time you're done with school, you need to know if this is something you want to do for the rest of your life.
True.
And the industry is based on rejection, like you said earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got to learn about the rejection.
You alluded to a workshop earlier on, a workshop that your company runs.
Correct.
What's that all about? How intense is it? How much time is involved in the workshop? And I presume in that situation, people like Kayla have to pay to attend the workshop.
It really depends on what workshops there are. I mean, the New York Film Academy gave us an exclusive workshop that was at no cost. So it was by invitation only. So I selected the top artists in the agency, not only those that book the most work, but those who attend the most castings. So that for me is very important, is your loyalty and availability. So you need to be available to go to castings, because I can sign you, give you all the opportunities, but if you're never available, it's not working, because the client wants to see you and then the client stops. And we do a lot of workshops. We've got a training academy. So every Wednesday nights, we do training sessions 5:30 to 6:30. And then on Saturdays, we do training from 8 to 11. So if you can't do the Wednesday, you can come to the Saturday classes. We combine it to being like a triple threat class. So it's your combination of modeling, acting, as well as dancing, just so that you've got a little bit more skills and marketability. And each workshop's pricing is different. I mean, they start from being free, presented by the New York Film Academy by invitation only. And then we've got workshops with our international guests that can go up to 1,850 Rand. And these workshops are normally between 3 to 4 hours. So it really depends. I did a workshop the other day on the power of branding and how social media actually affects, in a positive or negative way, what you are trying to express and say to the world by the content that you are delivering.
Okay, we have 2 minutes to wrap up. Final words from you, Kayla. What are you hoping for? What are your expectations on this upcoming trip?
Well, I believe that when I go there, I just want to learn these different skills and be able to develop and then come back and pursue locally and internationally with my modeling and acting.
Good luck.
Thank you.
When she goes, let's assume she does get chosen and she'll be there, she'll be enrolled at the New York Film Academy. Do they provide accommodation, etc., or would you have to pay for all of that on
so
her own?
there's dorms. The New York Film Academy actually has dorms, which is 2 subway stops away in the New York campus. And then in LA, if you don't have a car, you're going to have to walk about 4 kilometers to get to the premises. But the New York Film Academy definitely does have dorms available. Some artists actually make friends at the school, and what they then do is they get their own apartments. So I always advise, go to the dorms, make friends there, and then you stay in a safe environment where you're surrounded by creatives. And our ultimate goal for Kayla is to get a scholarship to go and study.
Great stuff. Good on you.
Thank you.
Finally, you're taking 60 odd people along with you. How hopeful are you that you're going to get a 95, 98, or even 100% take up?
You know what, the level of preparation and the focus that these artists, and they feel like my children, the level of commitment that they have put in, the amount of work, the hundreds of hours of preparation has got me very successful. And you know what, it becomes more like a family. And in my family, we drive towards success. And ultimately, that is what we're striving towards.
And these 60 odd people that you're taking along, are they all going on invitation, or are they paying for it out of their own pockets?
It's invitation only. So
Wow.
they get invited in October last year.
All expenses paid?
No, it's not all expenses paid. So there's a training part of the process, as well as the flights and accommodation that they need to take care of. And then they'll be meeting with all the industry professionals from around the world, get to train, get the education, as well as the ability to perform and network.
How long will Kayla be away?
11 days.
Only 11 days.
11
and then she
days.
comes back and...
She goes straight back to school, and then we're hopeful to get her an international educational scholarship and get her to study in a first world country.
You advise to young people watching and older people who
Yes,
aspire to be
absolutely.
models and actors and whatever have you, what would you advise them?
Dream big and choose carefully who you associate yourself with. Research is key. There's a lot of people in the industry that are not character-based and they don't have authenticity. So make sure that your agent understands your characteristics and your value system, because you can get presented and sent to jobs that you don't agree upon. So do research upon who you align yourself with. That is the biggest advice that I would give to anyone watching.
Good luck to you both. It's been
Thank you.
fascinating talking to you and
Yes.
giving us a peek into the world
Thank
of
you.
models, actors, actresses, singers, dancers, etc. It is cutthroat, is it not? You have to be
Absolutely.
made of strong stuff to survive in an industry like this.
That's correct.
Well, good on you. Please look out
Thank
for all the
you.
younger people under your care.
Thank you.
And good luck. There you have it. If you've always dreamt of following the arts, just know that involves a lot of hard work and perseverance, obviously, and a bit of cash too. It doesn't come cheap. So if that's what you want to do, follow your dreams, but do be prepared. Do your homework, be prepared, and go to a reputable agency. Still to come, we'll be talking foster parenting, and later on, we'll be looking at cleft palates and cleft lips. We're now joined by Anissa Musa from Islamic Care Line. She is a social worker there, and of course you might well have picked up on the fact that Islamic Care Line joins us here on Let's Talk at least once a month to talk family matters. Last month we spoke about Child Protection Week, and now I think it's almost a natural follow-on. We're going to be looking at foster parenting. What exactly is entailed there? I think you need to be made of real tough stuff to take on fostering, because I think it takes a lot out of you, but I think it's very noble if you decide to foster someone's child. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam to you, Sister Julie, and to all the viewers.
Fostering is not a huge thing in our community. I am aware of fostering happening in a very informal, unofficial basis, where family members take on the role, where they have a family member who is not able to look after their child or children due to financial or other constraints. But in formalizing it, I don't believe it's a very big thing in our community, simply because the possible red tape or perceived red tape and screening that is involved. Would I be correct in that perception?
Definitely. I think for lots of people, foster care and going to court is very intimidating. And
Whoa,
I think that's...
going to court, why?
Yes. Okay. So this is how it works, and since you brought it up, right? So I would, you know, like I said, I would like to go through some of the reasons why children would need fostering quickly, and then look at why, again, we need to go to court. Remember that the children's court is, and even the High Court, are the highest guardians of the children of the country. And wherever biological parent is unable to take care of their child themselves, so any child not living with their biological parents, becomes the responsibility of the state. And with that in mind, we need to be accountable of all the children that are not with their biological parents. And how do these children get identified as children in need of care? Is a child who's abandoned or destitute, children who display very disruptive and extreme behaviors to the extent that their parents cannot discipline or control them. If parents are on drugs, and we're seeing that a lot, where grandparents are filling the parenting gap or playing the parental role in the absence of the parents, severe financial constraints where basically any threat to a child's well-being or their development, whether it be their emotional, their physical, their mental well-being, where there's neglect or abuse and domestic violence. Then there's also instances of child labor and what we call child-headed households, especially now with the increase of HIV/AIDS and in informal settlements where there's high levels of poverty. Okay, so those are...
Can I just interrupt you on the one issue? You spoke about very disruptive children where parents can't control them. In a situation like that, how is foster parenting going to help that child become better behaved?
Okay, so in instances like that, they have what we call reformatories. They used to be called, or industrial schools. So those children are not necessarily placed with foster parents in the manner that we have in our mind. All right? But those are more the exception. Most of the other circumstances that I listed are instances where, for whatever reason, a child living with their biological parents is not in their best interest, and therefore they require some alternate placement or alternate care. So what happens in instances like this, if, let's say, for example, you recognize that there's a neighbor or a family member and there's children in that household who require care, or it's not in the interest of these children, you would need to report that. Now remember also, reporting a child in need of care becomes the responsibility of any healthcare worker, educator, any person who works with children. In fact, it's all our responsibility to look out for the best interests of the children in our community, in our country at large, okay? So what happens is you would either report it to a police station or to a social worker, the nearest organization near you, like a child welfare or like the Johannesburg Institute of Social Services, an organization that we often use, and it works according to the area, so where the child is residing at the time. What happens then is they send a social worker out to the place of residence.
The situation.
To go and assess the situation, and if for so in severe instances where the child is under a great deal of risk, they would remove the child immediately and place the child in what we call a place of temporary safe care. So that's a placement for about 6 weeks, during which the social worker opens up a court inquiry, goes to court. The magistrate basically gives the social worker about 6 weeks to find a more long-term placement. And this is where family members, now remember that the court is not trying to break families. What they want to do is create situations that, first of all, that places the child in the best care possible in the interim, but reunification with the biological parents is something that should happen.
How long are you allowed to keep a child in foster care?
Okay, so I'm going to come to that now, right? So what happens then is the 6 weeks are meant for the social worker to find a placement, but the court also encourages what we call inter-family placements. So where there's a family member, that would be the first option for a foster placement. During that 6 weeks, the social worker does screenings for potential foster care, and you asked about that, right? So they would do a home visit to ensure that the circumstances of the placement is conducive to the child's upbringing, right? And so once the social worker does a report and presents it to the magistrate, if satisfied, and the potential foster parent will also accompany the social worker to court, and the magistrate will ask the foster parent, are you okay to look after this child? What's nice about a foster placement is that an order lasts for 2 years. So
can you renew
there's
the
flexibility,
order?
Right? So there's
because
flexibility.
this brings me to my next question, which you can respond to as well, is you've removed the child from his biological family to take him or her to a place of safety, and for him to be in a very neutral environment. But if that foster family do not want to renew that stay, he's going to go now to a different family. Moving from family to family, is that also not going to be very disruptive on this child and leave him with feelings of neglect, anxiety, disown, people not investing in him enough? I worry about that.
Unfortunately, the reality is such that when a child, in fact, some people would say that even if a child is abused or neglected in their parental's home, in their parents' home, the trauma of removing a child, it comes with the territory almost, because remember that that's what they know. And by disrupting them, also we can't guarantee that the child won't be exposed to threatening circumstances in any kind of a placement. There are measures that are taken, like we talk about the screening, the social workers' intervention. The child should get therapeutic intervention. But remember, in South Africa, the demand is so great. There are even street children that have ran away, children that are abused, neglected all the time on a daily basis. So the demands are great, and also circumstances with foster placements are also not so great either. But like I said, the social workers can only do their best under the circumstances. But the reason why, so going back, yes, there's negative implications for the fact that those orders are short term, and there is the possibility that the child will move from home to home. I think that 6 weeks period is used by the social worker to try and ensure that as long-term a placement as possible. There's also the possibility that after 2 years, the circumstances of the parents, and that's the hope, that after 2 years, the circumstances of the parents improve so that we can reunite the child with the parents. And that is why we have 2-year orders, so that towards the end we can relook at the circumstances of the parents and the circumstances of the foster parents, and to see if the placement has been conducive to the child. If not, then we need to relook at that. But it also offers foster parents the flexibility, because long-term placements can be very, very, again, intimidating and daunting for foster parents, unlike adoption, where it's till the child reaches adulthood. So again, it allows for opportunity to relook at, revisit and review, and then see if that placement is just going also a little bit back where there's abuse or neglect. If let's say, for example, a father is abusive, you can remove the father so that the children don't get removed, if all the children are being abused. So there is that recourse. But to answer your question, yes, it can be traumatic. But the minute a child is removed and taken away from their parents, that in itself can be traumatic. And that is why, again, we always talk about the best interest of the child. We also need to be sensitive when we report what will be the short and long-term implications for a child who's being removed from their parents.
Let's go for an ad break. We'll be back in a minute or two. Anissa Musa from Islamic Care Alliance here, talking to us about foster parenting. We're going to ask, why is it necessary for a potential foster parent to be interviewed by the courts? How daunting is that process? And does it guarantee that you will be able to foster children? And does this become a lifelong occupation with certain people? If so, why? All of that right after the break. We'll be talking to a doctor from abroad about cleft lips and palates in a short while. Right now we're talking to Anissa Musa from Islamic Care Line. In the Family Matters slot, we are looking at foster parenting. Would you like to respond to the two issues I raised before the ad break?
Okay, so the one that you asked about is, can fostering become a lifelong, I don't know if you can call it an occupation, but something that people take on. There are people out there who enjoy or find fulfillment and satisfaction from raising children who are destitute or who require a place. To become a foster parent, so in some instances, a foster parent can take a maximum of 6 children under their care. Right?
In one go.
Yes. And you have different kinds of placements for children. So if it's a children's home, for example, then there's a designation, and that's different. It's a registered child and youth care center. Then you get another arrangement where there's some establishments that have what we call cluster homes, and they have a house mother per cluster, and there they take up to a maximum of 6 children. And then you get people in their own home environment who have opened their homes to children and can foster a maximum of 6 children. So there's different types of placements. In terms of going to court, how does one become a foster parent? Again, if someone is if you're interested in becoming a foster parent, you can contact an organization, a child protection organization, and inform them of your interest.
Or even K9 for that matter. You would assist people, talk them through the process.
Our focus is mainly like an organization like FAMSA, where our main focus is therapeutic work. So we don't do the actual court work.
But you'll refer people on.
We could refer, and we would do therapeutic work with either the children who are placed, or like play therapy and counseling. We could give support to foster parents. But organizations that do placements also do provide some kind of support and training for potential foster parents and for foster parents, whether it be on a one-on-one, whether it be through groups and group work and training.
So are you saying that if I apply to be a foster parent, that I'd have to, and it's the first time, I'd have to appear in court? You're going to tell me what the screening looks like, but I'd also have to go on training to prepare me to take on this child and try and create as nurturing an environment as possible.
Definitely. So what happens is the social worker would visit your home. They would do a thorough screening, which includes things like your financial background, your environment. Is it conducive to having children? Is there enough space for children to play? How big are the rooms? They do a very detailed screening. They would also look at, let's say, for example, your personal circumstances. Do you have children of your own? They would also look at, okay, so just the home, but also the nearby environment. Is there access to school, healthcare facilities, recreational facilities? So it's quite detailed, but that would apply whether you choose to be a foster parent of one child or more than one child. But the process becomes a little bit easier once, because the first time they would do a very detailed screening. They would also look at things like health, age, demographics, whether the fit is there, the age of the child, the age of the foster parent, because also, I mean, if they're going to place a very young child with someone in their late 60s or early 70s, it also has health implications. Right. So all of those kind of things. And also they would do what we call a developmental plan to look at how this placement would be good for the child's development socially, emotionally, mentally, and physically.
I presume they do a criminal check, background check on
clearances with the child, with
the foster parents.
The sexual offences register. Yes. And a police clearance is also necessary. A foster parent has to be a South African resident with a valid South African ID. We have lots of foreign nationals in the country or foreigners, but I think what they're looking for is someone who's stable and grounded and would allow for the long-term placement. But also, I also need to mention one other thing. The order is for 2 years, but should circumstances prove not so positive for the child, or it changes in that 2 years, the social worker may need to do a variation in the placement, but that also then needs to be motivated.
And there's regular visits from the social worker to check that over the 2-year period to check on the well-being of the foster children and the foster parents, because it could go either way.
Definitely.
A lot of people have the perception that there's lots of money to be made out of fostering. Can the monies that they get in fostering children enable them to also live off the money? I mean, fine, they're going to take care of the children, provide a roof, a home, food, etc. But can they live off it as well? You don't want people to do it for the wrong reasons.
Like most grants, whether it be a disability grant, whether it be a pensioner's grant, whether it be a foster care grant, we all know that those amounts are very minimal. They would just allow for basic needs and expenses of a child. It's not meant for anyone to make money off it as such, but it basically alleviates the foster parent of having to fork out from their own pocket to take care of a child. The other thing I also need to make mention of is, when we spoke about the duration of placement, some people don't want to take on children because they're afraid of getting emotionally attached and the child being taken care of. But also, with foster placements, it also protects the foster parent from any possible invasion from the biological parent. So the biological parents always have to make arrangements with the social worker before they visit. It's not like, okay, because you're taking care of my child, I can walk in whenever I feel like. So it does set boundaries. And it also allows the biological parents the accountability and like you used the word structure and the respect for this family or this person or individual who's taking care of their child. Also, it creates structure and also protects the child from having parents walk in and out as they,
sorry for the interruption, what about an older child that is being fostered, but the child is a troublesome child and creates a lot of havoc in the foster home? And even though from past experience, this is a very solid, sound foster unit, but the child creates a lot of havoc, tells a lot of tales and lies, and wants to be asked to be removed from that home because he or she can't get their own way. What do you do in a situation like that?
Unfortunately, that creates a bit of a complication because it's not easy to find stable, conducive placements for children. I guess in some ways that placement can be used for another child. Mm-hmm. But, how we talk about developmental stages and lots of people will say that adolescence is associated with behavior problems and all of that. I think also it depends on what options are available for that social worker at a given time. And are there alternate placements? Sometimes social workers are so inundated with cases. The caseloads are high. Working conditions are not so great for the social workers. So they try their best. In instances like this, they might want to look at therapeutic intervention for the child or for the family, give some kind of support before. So they would try different things before a placement is changed, and that might be even a last resort if that even happens. So it's very difficult to say. There's so many things to take into consideration when that happens or should that happen. But a child also needs to understand that even placements, if they risk a placement like that, we can't guarantee that they're going to be placed in another home where circumstances are going to be better.
Almost wrap up time. Let's summarize what we've talked about. If there's any important points that you'd like to highlight before we close off.
We appeal to people to foster children, especially when it comes to
open up your hearts and your homes.
I think they become our responsibility, and I would advise that family members who are interested in looking after children from their own family do formal placements, all in the interests of the children. I think for the reasons that we've discussed during the program about setting boundaries and setting the structure and also protecting themselves and the children involved. It can be a bit of a daunting experience, but it doesn't have to be. if the screening goes well, then there's no reason to feel intimidated by that process. It can be one that's beneficial to the children and the parents and the biological parents. And hopefully if we can give the biological parents the support that they need to be able to become better parents or be able to reclaim that parental role, then that will be great, alhamdulillah.
And that's where we leave it. Thank you indeed. Is there a big uptake in our community for foster parenting?
There should be also, again, with Muslims. You must remember that when a child is removed, we can't guarantee that they're going to be placed with a Muslim family. And that is why we urge Muslim
Family
people
members
to come forward. And social workers look forward to it. When I say, I've got a child, but I've got a potential placement, they get happy because it makes their work easier, because now they don't have to go hunting for a placement. There's a potential placement for their child. And so then it also lessens the duration of the process, because then within that 6 weeks, they can finalize the case. Otherwise, they have to ask for an extension if they haven't found a placement.
That's where we leave it till the next time. Jazakallah for the amazing work you guys do at Islamic Careline. Please keep it up.
I mean, we look forward to the support of the community as well.
And there you have it. Please, dear brothers and sisters and community members, open up your hearts, open up your homes, and really and truly consider becoming foster parents. There are lots and lots of children out there that need the foster care, and inshallah you'll be touching lives in a very positive way. In a short while we'll be talking to a visiting doctor about cleft lips and palates. What's it all about? How can these children be healed and start their journey on the road to recovery? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back to the final segment of the show this morning. We have two doctors in studio, Dr. Shaukat Waja and Dr. Sunil Richardson. They're here to talk about, I guess, not only dentistry, but a whole host more. Dr. Sunil comes from the other end of the world. We're going to look at this partnership, and we're going to look at the type of work that is being carried out by Dr. Waja's foundation and Dr. Sunil Richardson. Amazing stuff, amazing work that they're going to be doing here right in South Africa. Assalamu alaikum and welcome. Good morning to the program.
Good morning. Alaikum salam.
Lovely to have you both in here. And I've just told you off air, I've been wanting to get you in studio for a while because I heard one of your interviews on radio about the Waja Foundation. So do you want to tell us a little bit about it and how this partnership has come together and speaks directly to the Waja Foundation?
Okay. Jazakallah, thanks for having us. And Julie, they always say, trust in the timing of Allah. And I think the interview maybe comes at the right time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So basically, the Waja Kameno Trust is a trust that we started.
Waja what?
Waja Kameno.
Waja Kameno meaning?
Meaning eat with teeth.
Okay.
So it's really got nothing to do.
Waja is your surname?
Okay. But Waja in Sutu
yes.
also means eat.
Okay.
So after much analysis and discussion and feedback from various sectors of our community, they said to me, why don't you go with the name Waja Kameno? Because that in essence is really what we're trying to do.
Okay.
We want these special needs kids to be able to eat with their teeth. Mm-hmm. So what we've basically done is over the last couple of years, close to about 20, 25 years, we're taking care of all the dental needs of differently able people. So these are special need kids. They might be mentally challenged, they might be physically challenged. And over the years, you know, we started previously with these educational programs. They're actually a bit legendary now. They've been screened many times. It's a fantastic event, lots of fun, carnival kind of atmosphere, but all with the dental theme.
All right, so you talk about differently abled children. I do know that in South Africa, and I'm referring to South Africa because we've got an overseas guest here, there's lots of other foundations like the Smile Foundation and Dr. Mia, he's not a maxilla, he's plastic surgeon, very involved with this type of work, yes, where they're helping underprivileged children, you know, with cleft palates and all of those issues.
Yes.
Why have you gone slightly the different route looking at differently abled. Is that perhaps suggesting that differently abled children's needs are perhaps greater and they're just being sidelined?
You've put it perfectly. So our differently abled kids, these are kids that live, essentially on the fringes of society.
True.
We're not bumping into them on a daily basis, and we have to be aware that they have very, very different needs. The difference between the Waja Kameno Trust and other organizations is that we're very, very focused on the whole profile of their dental needs. So from the education to the empowerment, where we provide them on a regular basis with toothbrushes, toothpaste, right down to screening. We check their teeth, we know what their dental needs are. Then we bring the kids into our practices. So this is a massive difference. We bring the kids into our practices, and on a sustainable basis, we provide free dental care for these kids, free dental care. From there onwards, because they are special kids, they've got slightly different needs. Many of them are scared. They don't want to sit in our dental chairs. Even us, are scared to sit in the chairs. The trust has enabled, via the good hearts of so many of our fellow South Africans and now even our brothers overseas, the trust has enabled that we are capable of taking these kids into theatre, which is a hell of a costly process.
Absolutely.
But we've got surgeons with good hearts, we've got dentists with good hearts, and
everybody paying it forward, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Mercy of Allah, you cannot
Shukr.
believe it. And we then take these kids into theatre and they get a full spectrum of dental care. I just want to share with you, when we talk about dental care, we're not just talking about extractions, we're talking whatever their needs are. If they need a crown, they get a crown. If they need an implant, they get an implant. That is the scale of the work that's provided for these kids. Now, as we come into interaction with them, we realize, but listen, the dental stuff is there, but they've got other needs as well. So that's where the maxillofacial surgery component has come into play. They might need their wisdoms taken out. We now pick up that some of these kids have got a physical deformity, like a cleft lip or a cleft palate. So we are the ones that are in direct contact with
So you
these
pick
kids.
it up at source and you then refer on. Can I just get Dr. Sunil in? Good morning, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
You are a maxillofacial specialist and also much more. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm a craniofacial surgeon. With
What's the
a
difference?
So we take care of the face and the head, and I come from a maxillofacial background.
And these children that Shaukat refers to is special needs children, but I should imagine also people that were involved in accidents, etc., where extensive work needs to be done on their face and obviously mouth, etc. When and how did this partnership become a reality? Because Shok is very excited about it. He's talking about you've come from the opposite side of the world and you're doing amazing work here in South Africa.
Yeah, I think I'll let Dr. Shaukat
Okay, we'll come to the partnership in a short while.
The partnership.
But why are you so invested in this initiative?
Well, I've been doing a lot of work in and through non-governmental organizations, both in India, in the US, and many of the African countries thus far. I've already been on missions to more than 20 countries with Operation Smile, Smile Train, Cape Craniofacial Foundation, and some missions from Spain and elsewhere. Now here when I was doing this, it's my passion to be able to reach out to these people who are not that, fortunate. And so we try to make them incorporated into the society as normal individuals like us. At this juncture is when Dr. Shaukat met me and he was like, there's so much of work that you're doing in different parts of the world. Would it be possible that we do something in South Africa? And I've never been to South Africa before.
Is this your first trip?
My first time, yes.
Okay.
But I've already been on missions to, let's say, Malawi, DRC, Madagascar, Tunisia, and a few places, even East Africa, a few times. So I was like, Shaukat, this is excellent because you have a mission, you have a vision, you're doing this on a regular basis. I'm doing this as well. But my specialty is like that small area. You're having the full people. So if there is a need in this big group of people that you're treating, that would need my expertise and help, I'm there. So that's how the whole thing started. Yeah.
So Shaukat, you're going to tell me how you met up with him and decided to go this route. But what about the local specialists that we have? I have no doubt in my mind there are specialists here who could give off their expertise. Why have Dr. Richardson come all the way from the other end of the world to come and assist you?
Yes, so let me start with actually sharing how it happened, because it really would be remiss of me not to share that, and then I'm going to share with you how it could be of help for us. So really this thing in my mind is really, you know, the work of our Creator. It is really something remarkable because it was something, in my mind, truly unique. So I've been following the work of Dr. Richardson, as are many thousands of surgeons around the world following his work. So his dental stroke surgical skills are remarkable. They are remarkable. So we've been following him for a while. But one fateful Saturday night at about 9 o'clock, while I'm watching a soccer match, and I'm sitting with my son and I'm watching a soccer match, and I'm sitting and I'm thinking, I said, you know what? And I'm looking at his work on my phone while I'm watching the match, and I think to myself, for some reason, let me just send this doctor a message, tell him who I am, tell him about the work that I'm doing, and I'll send him the message. And I naturally thought that would be the end of it.
Right. He's way too busy to read your message.
This is a big doctor and I'm sending him this small message. Even locally, sometimes it's a challenge to gain help from our various fellow colleagues. So I send this doctor a message at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, and I put the phone down. And lo and behold, as life would have it, he sends me a message back in a couple of minutes later saying, I like what you're mentioning. Please, can you expand on your thoughts? So I then sent him a message back, and he says the reason now he responded was because I sent him such a long message with details in terms of the work that we're doing and the role that he could play. So I then sent him this message back, and guess what he says? I would like to be of help. Let's go ahead. And this is how we've actually got him across to this side. Do we have remarkable surgeons that can help us? Absolutely. Are they helping us? Absolutely. But listen, his set of skills are so phenomenal that beyond just the gift that he would be able to afford our children, all of this, him coming to, has created so much momentum even within our maxillofacial surgeons. There's almost like a fire has been lit and they are ready themselves for action. Beyond just the work that inshallah Allah will accept from us for these children, the skills transfer between him as a surgeon in India, if you allow me just now, I'll give you some of the areas that he's been to. But the skills transfer from him to our surgeons locally, and their skills transfer of their experiences, because they've had also unique experiences with trauma, which you mentioned in our Bergwanath hospitals. And so their skills transfer to Sunil will be something that he can benefit from. But possible exchange programs, which the rest of the world is going to spend time at his hospital. He's got his own hospital called the Sunil Richardson Hospital in India, where people from around the world go. And now we have the opportunity for our surgeons, for our dentists, for anybody else that would like to spend a bit of time over there. We've already got so much interest, but we've opened up those channels, and which I call life experiences, because one of the unique thing about our trust is that with our children, we're really very focused on not fixing a tooth. We are very focused on changing their life experiences.
Giving them a new lease on life.
Giving them a new lease of life.
All right, let's go for our first ad break. When we come back, I'd like you, I'm sure he's way too modest to share the experiences with us, but the type of work that he's done, which for you was a first in the world, and why you are in awe of this man sitting in studio with us this morning. Dr. Sunil Richardson from India and Dr. Shaukat Waja from right here, Johannesburg, talking about this amazing partnership for differently abled children getting any and every type of dental care absolutely free of charge. I'm talking to Dr. Shaukat Waja from the Waja Kameno Foundation and Dr. Sunil Richardson all the way from the south of India, and we're talking about the partnership and the type of work, the amazing work free of charge that they're offering to disabled children or children that are differently abled. Dr. Richardson, did you know as a young man that you're going to grow up to become this famous, world-renowned specialist or surgeon?
No, not at all.
What were you planning when you were a young man? What did you want to do?
I always wanted to do surgery from the time I was 10th grade. And so that was in my heart. But I, at that point in time, didn't think that I would also be doing so many things for gratis. I grew up in a city in India where I also found that specialists and medical professionals do very well in life, and that was something in my heart. But it was much later on in life I realized that there are so many areas that I can help in, and so it actually happened during the course of my training. In fact, that I decided that this would be a life mission. That along with doing things for getting paid, I would also do something for gratis, because that's really what keeps me going. That
Absolutely.
is called, that's amazing. It's called intangible income as far as I'm concerned, but it really pushes you, gives the energy to go ahead.
No, absolutely. Like I keep referring to, saying that we've got to pay it forward. It's our responsibility as human beings, like with Dr. Shawkat's foundation, that we have to give back. We can't sit and just expect other people to do it, or just forget about the marginalized. At what point did you decide that you need to start making a difference?
Very young, even during my training, because I had my professor back in India. He used to do regular charities at that point in time with the Rotary clubs. And what I realized was, at that time, those for whom you would help and do it for gratis, they're ever so grateful. And they would even fall at his feet. I mean, for me, that was something that touched me, and I get goosebumps even now when I speak. So this is one thing that touched me forever. And so I said, even when I started my practice, and look, I'm in private practice. So I don't work for the government, I'm totally on my own. And so therefore I definitely needed organizations, non-governmental organizations, both in India and abroad, because I could do this thing, which was so close to me, also through the Rotary clubs. So that's how I started. And then it's been many years now that I've been working on that aspect. I also have a private end. So that's for profit. But then this
well, of course, you've got to put food on the table. What sort of support do you have? I'm thinking your wife, children, family members.
Yes.
Are they all for it?
Yes, we have my family supporting. We also have our own foundation back in India. It's called Cape Craniofacial Foundation. We also work, like I said, in and through other foundations. Like I already mentioned, a few from the US, Spain and other countries. And now I'm also looking forward to doing in South Africa through the Wajo Camino Trust.
How long are you going to be here in South Africa this time around?
3 more days to be precise.
Is he going to be performing the operations whilst he's here?
Not at this point in time yet. There's certain procedures that must be put in place, but we've consulted with him on cases already, shared x-rays, gotten his advice. He's having several meetings with our local surgeons. They're very excited about the whole process. So the road forward is something that we'll map out slowly as we go forward.
So you'll be coming regularly to South Africa once, twice a year maybe?
Yes, as the need be.
Okay. Shawkat, what about his work that has jumped out at you? Something almost out of the ordinary that you can explain in layperson's terms so that our viewers can understand what is it that you're talking about. I'm thinking now something really complicated that wowed you.
So even as a professional, as a dentist, people must please feel free to go onto Instagram and follow Dr. Sunil Richardson. When you look at the surgical work that he does, it is mind-boggling. So to put it out there to a layperson, this man can virtually take your palate while you're lying there, dissect all your muscles and your skin and everything off your face, put it where he wants it, re-stitch it back together. He could take your eye out from where it is. He could put it on your forehead if you want it over there. But he can do phenomenal things. He can take your chin and put it somewhere else. He can take bone from your hip and put it on your palate. He does phenomenal stuff. When I look at it as a dentist, I sometimes feel faint.
All right, so what about continuity? So he'll come and do all this amazing stuff here in South Africa, go through maybe a dozen or more patients. He has a life, he needs to leave and move on. Who's going to oversee and make certain that the after medical care happens as it's meant to happen?
Our group of dentists and our group of specialists around here. One of the things that he's been doing throughout this week that he's been with us, not only to me, because he's had now contact with our specialists and our dentists as well, is this phenomenal thing where he is motivating us to step out of our comfort levels. And that is a key thing. Some of the procedures that he tackles is an encouragement to our local specialists and us as dentists as well to step out of our comfort zones and actually challenge ourselves to take our dental and surgical skills to the next level. So the system is such that even when he goes back home, we have the capacity within our professionals to give our patients the relevant care that's required post-operatively.
Let's look at these differently able children and people that require all of the specialist treatment. Is there a long waiting list? People watching us this morning may decide that I need specialist care, I need specialist intervention. I'm a regular person, I'm working, but I really can't afford those specialist fees. Would you look at them? What sort of criteria is in place for you to decide who qualifies for the special free service and who doesn't?
Okay, so the amazing thing about getting some form of exposure, for example, on your show right now, is that it makes the normal, the lay people out there with differently able people at home aware of our program. This is a phenomenal thing. The organizations that we go to, if I might just mention a few.
Please.
So we've got
you can even mention some of the doctors that you work with.
Yes, so we've got Jiswa School.
Yes.
We've got, which is in Lenasia.
Yes.
We've got the Adelaide Tambo School in Soweto. We've got the Don Matera School in El Dorado Park. We've got El Munira School in Roshni. We've got LMA Special Needs School in in Lenasia again.
And that's just touching the iceberg, isn't
Iceberg,
it?
we've got
Because there's so many more that haven't even been mentioned.
So these already, we've got various Sparrow schools. So these are close, just the ones I'm mentioning now, these names are close to about 2,000 children that have got direct access to us. And it's a continuous sustainable program. But what I have found in the past, that there are people now outside of these institutions. And one must understand a key thing is when these children leave these institutions, their life virtually almost comes to an end, if I want to be a bit more dramatic, because they don't have the normal opportunities that we have. They've got various other challenges. Just like going to the cafe is a problem. Getting in a taxi is a challenge for them. There's so many different things.
Because if they've had a cleft lip, as simple as that, lip or palate,
yes.
their speech is impaired. Yeah. They can't even make themselves understood if they haven't been fixed.
But beyond that even, their mental challenges are so severe that they can't ask someone for directions. Then there's opportunities for abuse of other people seeing a susceptible person. So there's all of those elements which we can talk about forever and ever. But these people have now access to us, but we constantly treating adult special needs people that are living in various parts from Mayfair to Lens to Lodium to where have you. Various people that now hear about the foundation through a system like this.
But again, you're stressing the fact that it has to be differently abled.
Yes, yes.
Has to be, because there are other organizations looking at the marginalized.
That's correct.
Are you doing similar work in the south of India as well, similar to what the Waja Foundation is doing?
What we are doing in the south of India is a craniofacial problem, which means that we take care of all individuals who have any issue on the face. They have to be marginalized, obviously, in a lower socioeconomic strata, but they may or may not have another mental issue. But any issue on the face is what we do in India, because that's where we are, and we can cater to a group. And we there also are working with various other trusts and NGOs that are basically reaching out to people. Because these trusts can pick up a few select patients for us, and then we only take care of them.
Of course, and there's just so much you can do, not anymore. But here comes the ordinary person watching us this morning, wanting to be a part of this amazing initiative and making a difference. So what do you say to them watching us this morning? Where and how can we become involved?
We'd welcome their help, and we'd welcome the expertise, because there's different forms of expertise.
Of course.
So
and also obviously to donate very generously.
Absolutely, that we really appreciate, because it's much needed.
Of course.
So they can always get in touch with the trust. We've got a website now that we are available on Instagram. They can always just with ITV check, and ITV will have all our relevant details, and we more than welcome their support.
Let's just digress a bit, but not too much. The issue around cleft palates and cleft lips, do we find that over the years it's minimizing, less children being born and presenting with this? If so, why? If not, why is it still, still so evident in this modern day and age with the advance of modern medicine?
So the incidence for cleft lip and palate worldwide is between 1 in 700 to 1 in 1,000. Now the only thing modern medicine has done really is to be able to detect them early.
via amnio or
Yes,
whatever else.
via various scans. So it's pretty easy to detect them these days. But that actually is not so good for these kids, because many a times when these kids are detected early, then they tend to get aborted as well.
Of course.
So we also need to have a set of people that counsel these mothers and these families to go ahead with their pregnancies, because look, we're going to make them just like anyone else anyways. So this is the thing. So to really answer the question, the incidence hasn't varied in the last so many centuries. We've only improved in our techniques of fixing them back, so that we can incorporate them back as kind of normal individuals into the society. This is what we're able to do very easily now.
Okay, we've almost come to the end of the interview. One very quick question. I've read somewhere that moms who are pregnant and take their folic acid religiously, the tablets, will prevent, if they are at risk of giving birth to children with these defects. Is that true?
Not exactly, but partly. So one of the largest studies of this was done in the South Americas, and they found that many congenital birth defects decrease significantly with folic acid, but the important catch is preconception. It's not after they conceive.
Oh, okay.
Yes. However, even after you do that, there is still a good incidence of clefts even in the developed world. After every kid or every mother goes through folic acids.
So obviously there's a genetic disposition as well.
Exactly. It reduces the incidence a wee bit, but you just can't eliminate them.
We've come to the end of the show. What do you want to leave our viewers with this morning?
Oh,
Welcome to our country. We're very, very grateful
you.
that you're going to be working with our differently abled people. So we look forward to welcoming you here all of the time, please.
Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you indeed. Closing remarks from you, Dr. Shaukat?
Just if I can say thank you, Dr. Richardson, for coming across the world to help us, and let our South Africans also climb in and move this forward.
Inshallah, I look forward to your next visit. Please give us a shout. We can chat some more and go into more detail with the type of work he does. Bring along pictures, slides, etc., which we can flight as we speak. Let's really showcase the amazing work that you guys are doing. So thank you indeed. Jazakallah. Keep up the amazing work. Salams to the family and all the people involved in the foundation. God bless. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
thank you.
And that's where we leave it. Thank you indeed for your company today. As always, please take care on the roads. A big thank you to the production team as well. Until the next time, as always, it is Khudafiz from me, Julie Ali.
يا هلا 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 حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا